Could it be? But me, your man, Louie T, welcome to NFL trades and more. As we get into the NFL offseason, we are now 5 days away from the start of the official new league year, and trades are running rampant. I talked about this on my podcast this week about how trades are just running rampant this offseason and that we weren't done and we hadn't seen the last of trades going on. And I couldn't have imagined how many more trades were to come. And I still don't think we're done. I still think there are moves to be made. And we've talked about some of these moves and how teams were looking to depart with some of these players. But I couldn't have imagined how many trades and how teams were forming and reshaping the way that their roster and teams were going to look in the upcoming season via the trade. And so this is fascinating. I love it all, as do you. And apologize, I do, for being so rude. I'm your man, Louie T. Thank you for joining me here on this program as we look to talk about all the big trades that have happened over the last week or so in the National Football League. We've talked about the big trade, the Alex Smith to the Washington Redskins trade. We've talked about some of the other trades that have happened that have led us to this point. But today was crazy. Yesterday was crazy. The day before that was crazy. And so you may have missed some things. Even if you didn't, we still haven't really had a chance to talk about it and really allow these to sink in and digest. And so I want to hear from you guys as to how you feel about these trades. I'm going to give you my perspective, opinions, and how I feel these moves make these teams either better, worse, or indifferent. And so we'll talk about all of that tonight and then some. In case you missed it, Mike Evans got him a new little deal. It just, we call that burying the lead, okay? When something like that happens on a normal day, that would be the big story. Mike Evans gets a huge extension from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But when the Browns go off and make 19 trades, the Eagles continue to show why Howie Roseman should be put in the Hall of Fame, not now, but like right now. And then you look at the Los Angeles Rams and Trader Les continuing to just be Trader Les. And I swear the Rams are literally pushing all of their chips to the center of the table. They feel good about where they are, and they think they're really, really close. And they think some of the moves that they've made this offseason are going to get them that much closer. Some of it for cap reasons, others for probably just trying to get better immediately. Not immediately, immediately. We'll talk about that when we get to the Rams. But let's talk Browns and all of the moves made by new GM John Dorsey. And we see this all the time, and I've talked about this in the past. When you get a new GM, he wants to put his thumbprint. Everybody wants to make something their own. You move into a new house, you're not going to leave the old pictures up that were there. You're not going to leave all of the things that were there when you got there the same exact way. No, you're going to move in. You're going to put up your pictures. You're going to put in your furniture. You're going to put your TV where you want the TV. You're going to make that house a home, your home. And John Dorsey, he basically moved into this Browns condo. He's looking around at all the stuff that's there, and he's like, I don't really like that furniture. I've got some furniture. I'm going to put my stuff in here. And so he's getting rid of all the stuff that he doesn't like. Look, I didn't draft DeShone Kizer. I don't love him. Neither does Hugh Jackson. Okay? Let's move on from him, and let's get something for him. And hey, while we're here, I really want Saquon Barkley. What about you? I think it's a consensus now that everybody wants Saquon Barkley, and if you don't draft him at 1, you're not going to get another bite at that apple at 4. And so you understand the logistics of that situation. So you say, look, I've got to handle my quarterback situation if I want to, because if you don't address quarterback in free agency, guess what you got to do? You got to spend a pick on a quarterback number 1 overall, because you want to get the one that you want. You want to be able to pick the one that you deem to be the best. You don't want to go to 4, allow 1 or 2 other quarterbacks to come off the board, and then you're stuck picking a guy that maybe you don't love, or altogether passing on the quarterback position. Yet again, we don't want to see you do that like you did 2 years ago when you missed out on Carson Wentz. So again, if you're the Browns, you have to do this the right way. And I think John Dorsey is going about it all the right way, because I thought they were going to go the A.J. McCarron route. I actually like Ty Taylor for them a little bit better. He's a proven commodity in this league. And I think the Browns, if you're the Cleveland Browns, you need a proven commodity. If you go out and get A.J. McCarron and he turns out to be a dud, and now you're back at square one. And even if you were to decide to draft a young quarterback and go out and get A.J. McCarron, which the Browns are not out of the quarterback market because of this move to get Ty Taylor, he may be just a stopgap. He may just be a Band-Aid on a position that needs surgery. But he's a veteran presence that gives you a chance to win right now. And if you're Hugh Jackson, you're on a short leash, you need to win now. If you're the Cleveland Browns organization, you need to win now. And to me, these moves that we've seen from them scream, I want to win, and I want to win now, okay? You ever seen the J.G. Wentworth commercials? I want my money, and I want it now. I want to win, and I want to win now. That's what John Dorsey's saying. And he's like, hey, I'm going to come in, I'm going to clean up, and I'm going to make this thing work. And we're going to turn this thing around sooner rather than later. So with all the commodities that the Browns had coming into this offseason, you wanted to see them do something. You didn't want them to be like the Boston Celtics and kind of sitting on their hands with all of these picks. You're like, hey, look, you got all these commodities, you got all these picks, all of these resources. Put them to use and don't give away the good ones, okay? You got these first overall and fourth overall. Don't give those away, all right? Hold on to the picks that matter and deal some of the ones that don't and get what you need to get. And I think the Tyrod Taylor addition is a great move. He's a guy that fits Hugh Jackson's offense and what he wants to do. You look around. To me, Jarvis Landry was the best thing available in this entire free agency market other than, of course, Kirk Cousins. And so if you're talking wide receiver, he's light years ahead of everybody else that's available. Love Jarvis Landry, the production that he gives you, the toughness that you get automatically with this guy joining your football team is immense, and it can't be measured. You're looking for an identity on the offensive side of the football. You're going to get it with Jarvis Landry. You play in a tough, physical, rough, rugged AFC North division. Jarvis Landry screams tough, rough, and rugged, and he'll fit right in to that division, and he'll be a guy that will make plays for you consistently. Last year, you were so close. In the year before, we could take it a step further. The last 2 years, you were in ball games and had ample opportunities to win. You just needed guys to step up. You needed players to make plays on the offensive side of the football. Jarvis Landry is going to fill that void. He's going to make plays. He's going to do all the dirty work. He's going to go over the middle, make the tough catch on 3rd and 6. He's going to go and dig out that safety and block and knock heads and have those rolling. He's going to get the football on a jet sweep and lower the shoulder on a safety and run him over. He's going to do all the little things that maybe don't show up on the stat sheet necessarily, but then he's also going to show you that he can do the things that show up on the stat sheet as well. There's a reason this man has caught over 100 balls, it seems like, for the last 3 seasons in running. This guy is a machine. No, he doesn't possess elite top-end speed, but he has every other trait that you're looking for in a dynamic #1 wide receiver in this league, and Jarvis Landry is going to fit that bill for a team starving for a big-time playmaker. Yeah, I love Josh Gordon just like the next man, but you can't count on Joshua Gordon. And if Flash Gordon is back to being what he was before all of the issues started, then all of a sudden you've got one of the best 1-2 punches in all of football with Jarvis Landry and now, Josh Gordon and now Jarvis Landry. And just imagine if Corey Coleman is able to develop now as a 3rd option. Just imagine if David Njoku starts to really develop as a big-time pass-catching tight end in this league. Look at all of the abundance of weapons and riches you have in Cleveland. And we're talking about guys that are already on the roster. We're not even talking about additions to this team that will come via the draft and potentially still in free agency. The Browns, I am telling you right now, with Ty Taylor at quarterback, with Saquon Barkley at running back, with all of the receivers that you'll have at your disposal now, adding with the huge addition now of Jarvis Landry, even if Josh Gordon doesn't pan out, even if he goes back to his old ways, even if he does not fulfill that prophecy that we had for him is one of the better receivers in this league. You've got Jarvis Landry to fall back on, and that should be more than enough with some of the other weapons you have. I love Duke Johnson. I love David Njoku and what he could potentially bring to the table. This team is loaded. Your offensive line is good. Joe Thomas mulling over retirement. I'd like to think he's going to be back now. And so you look around, this could be a dangerous team. In a year's time, the Browns could literally be 2018's version of the 2017 Los Angeles Rams. I mean, go from bottom feeder to potentially first place in 1 year. Now, again, that's a stretch. All right. Last time I checked, Ben Roethlisberger didn't retire, and the Steelers are still a damn good football team. And don't forget about the Ravens. They're still there too. And I guess you could throw Cincinnati in there. Why not? But you get where I'm going with this. This team could go from no wins to 9 wins in a matter of one season. And look, I love John Dorsey and what he does. As long as you got somebody that can control the books. That was the problem with John Dorsey in Kansas City, is that he didn't pay attention to the details necessarily. He was all about getting talented football players, and he did a hell of a job of doing that in Kansas City. He just didn't always do a good job of being organized and keeping the books. That's what Chris Ballard did in Kansas City. He was the guy that was meticulous. He was the guy that kept everything in order. And when he went to Indy, Kansas City said, oh shit, we just lost the guy that keeps this thing going in proper order, that keeps the books in order. We probably need to part ways with John Dorsey. And so I'm not telling you that John Dorsey isn't going to do a great job and isn't going to get this team full of talented football players, because that's exactly what he's going to do. What I'm telling you is John Dorsey will run your salary cap amok while doing so. Just keep a close eye on him as he builds this team into a really competitive outfit in the AFC North. I want to know what you guys think about the Browns, so I want to take to the discussion board and see what you guys have to say about what the Browns have done. This is a interesting, fascinating day. And then they trade away Deshaun Kaiser. I thought they were going to hold the young man hostage, sort of like Tampa Bay did with Long Neck, and just let him sit on the roster and rot while you start somebody else. But Hugh Jackson didn't believe in him, and John Dorsey didn't draft him. So why not give the guy an opportunity to go elsewhere? And if you're the Green Bay Packers, giving up Demarius Randall, a guy, and usually when you see two young players being traded for one another, it's one team's disappointing early round draft pick for another team's disappointing draft pick. And that's what you're getting here. Packers spent a first round pick on Demarius Randall. They've been disappointed in him since his rookie season, which was a great rookie season. And then he hasn't been the same player since. Kaiser never was a good fit for Hugh Jackson, and Hugh Jackson didn't believe in him. And so they swap players. Demarius Randall has a bright future in front of him, potentially, if he gets in the right scheme. And, I love Greg Williams. Greg Williams will figure out if he's better suited at corner or safety. Either way, he's going to hit the football field and give himself a chance to, I guess, have a new lease on life in the National Football League as a Cleveland Brown. Meanwhile, for the Packers, I think they understand that after seeing up close and personal what UCLA quarterback was for them last year, and not very good, I might add, I think they know that Brett Hundley isn't the heir apparent in Green Bay, and there's nothing there. He's a career backup at best, and they're looking to move on from him after they saw what they saw with him. Why not develop a young guy behind Aaron Rodgers and see what you have there? Maybe he materializes into something, because Kaiser is a young talent. He should have still been at Notre Dame for an extra year, but he elected to go early. He took his bumps and bruises. Now he gets to learn under one of the best quarterbacks in NFL history in Aaron Rodgers, and gets the tutelage of Mike McCarthy. We'll see how that situation goes, and maybe they can flip him for a pick down the road. Who knows? Or maybe he'll be a really good backup and potential heir to the throne in Green Bay. So that's a good move for the Packers to get a young quarterback that may be able to help them down the road. Let's get to some comments, though. KT the Southern Gent says, hey, yo, fam, just got back from the hospital. My brother and his wife were welcoming their first child into the world. Congratulations, man. to your family. It is one of the most beautiful things that could ever happen. Is the birth of a child, man. It is just such a joyous occasion, and so definitely congratulations to you and your family and your brother for having their first child. That is an awesome experience, and so I appreciate that, man. And tell your niece I said what's up, man. And that's awesome. That is definitely awesome. Sean Mack says, my Browns won the day. I'm not used to this. Well, get used to winning, because I'm telling you right now, with John Dorsey pulling the strings and with all the resources that you have, this team is going to be a lot better, a lot faster. And I'm telling you, those close games that you were losing, you're going to start winning some games, and the Browns are going to start turning some heads. So get used to this, Sean Mack. Your Browns are back like cooked crack. KT the Southern Gent says, what's the biggest trade so far in your opinion? For me, the biggest trade this offseason, I guess I'm biased. The Redskins trading for Alex Smith. We went from not having a quarterback of any ilk, okay? Come on, you weren't really going to start Colt McCoy, were you? And at 13, you're not in a position. At least the Browns, had they not traded for Ty Taylor, had they not gotten a quarterback in free agency, they've got the #1 pick in the draft. They were going to get a quarterback. Period. All right. With the Redskins, no Kirk Cousins, and again, if they weren't able to pull off the trade for Alex Smith, who's to say that they wouldn't have franchised Kirk Cousins? Again, I mean, it would have been the stupidest thing ever, but I wouldn't have put it past them. But at 13, you're not guaranteed to get a QB, not one that you really want. So there was no guarantees to the Redskins. So the Alex Smith trade was a blockbuster deal. So I'd say that's the biggest deal. But if you're talking over the last couple of days, that Jarvis Landry deal is huge. The biggest free agent wide receiver on the market, or he was slapped with the franchise tag, but still, that's a big deal there. Ty Taylor, that's a big deal. Anytime a quarterback moves from one team to another, that is a huge deal. But obviously, what the Rams were able to do in getting Marcus Peters, the Kansas City Thief, we're going to have to change that nickname now, and getting Aqib Talib, trading Robert Quinn, all of the moves they made. I mean, it's just been such a whirlwind of just move after move after move after move. It's just so crazy. Gregory Lightbody says, guess the Browns not getting Barkley. The hell they not. To me, these trades scream, I want Saquon Barkley, and I need to make sure I address the quarterback position so that I can do that. That's what this screams to me, is that I want to put myself in the best position possible to get my hands on Saquon Barkley, #1 overall, and then #4 then becomes a luxury pick, okay? You take the best player available. If that's Bradley Chubb, then you select Bradley Chubb. If that's Minkah Fitzpatrick, you take Minkah Fitzpatrick. If that's Quentin Nelson, you take Quentin Nelson. I mean, whomever that player is, you take them at 4. Then it becomes a luxury pick. It's a really good position to be in if you're the Cleveland Browns. JCamman99 says, my Bills got rid of our Pro Bowl playoff starting quarterback with no guarantee that we will get a top 6 free agent quarterback or a top 6 draft quarterback, and most of them are worse than Tyrod. So let's talk about this from the Bills' perspective. You knew they didn't love Tyrod. We knew that when they benched him in favor of Nathan Peterman last year. So you knew that there was a distinct possibility that your new GM really wanted to hit the reset button on the quarterback position. And like I said with John Dorsey, when you get a new GM, they generally come in and they want to put their thumbprint on their team, on their new team. And so they wanna go out and do something different. And they like Tyrod. They never loved him in Buffalo. Okay, he was a Rex Ryan guy. This wasn't Sean McDermott's guy. And so this wasn't B Square's guy as your new GM. They want to get their guy in there, someone that they believe in at the quarterback position. And so I think they're going to do something. Maybe that guy is Lamar Jackson. I don't know. I don't know who they really like in Buffalo. You're not going to get one of the top 4 quarterbacks in this draft unless you're looking to trade up. You got some resources. You got 2 back-to-back picks. So if you were looking to move up, you got the ammunition to do so. The question is how bad you want to move up, and is the player that you're looking for there on the board at a reasonable spot to move up? We'll see what happens. But whether it's Teddy Bridgewater, because we've heard several teams think Teddy Bridgewater is a starting quarterback. Are the Bills one of those teams? I don't know. We can't say. There are a number of guys out there that can fill that void and be a bridge quarterback for you, whether it is Teddy Bridgewater, whether it is Case Keenum, whether it is Sam Bradford. There are other guys available in free agency. A.J. McCarron still is an interesting quarterback. But at the end of the day, you're right. You do not have a guaranteed surefire backup plan at this moment. All the Bills wanted to do was make sure they got something for a guy that they really, truly didn't believe in and wanted to move on from. And so they got a 3rd-round pick for Tyrod Taylor. Now the key is, can you get a quarterback in Buffalo that you truly believe in, that the general manager believes in, that the head coach believes in, and that this team can rally around and try to continue to build on the momentum that Tyrod Taylor and his team was able to start a season ago by making the playoffs for the first time since 1999. Let's keep it moving and get to some more comments before we move on to the next team. John Perez says, can't believe the Redskins missed out on Jarvis Landry. You had to know that the price was going to be too steep. And we don't know what those 2 draft picks are. But again, it was too rich for the Redskins' blood. They did inquire about Jarvis Landry, but I'm pretty sure they were told what the asking price was going to be. And the Redskins said, oh, no, we've got our own set of issues over here. We can't afford to give that up. So you had to know that Jarvis Landry was not going to be a watch to Redskins. Sean Mack says, I think this sets us up, us being the Browns, to take Barkley at 1. Obviously, to me, the minute that Tyrod Taylor was traded for, the first thing that popped in my mind was the Browns want Saquon Barkley. And if you wanted Barkley, you had to remove any doubt of having to take a quarterback. You wanted to push all of that aside and clear the path. And that's what the trade for Tyrod Taylor has done. It has cleared the path fully to go out and get the most dynamic back we've seen in the draft since Adrian Peterson. Yes, I did not stutter. Yes, I know Ezekiel Elliott was drafted just a mere 2 years ago. Yes, I do understand that Todd Gurley was drafted a mere 3 years ago. The best, most dynamic back we've seen since Adrian Peterson, since the 2007 draft. So I agree with you wholeheartedly, Sean Mack, that that's exactly what these trades have done, especially the Ty Taylor trade. J Camman 99 says, I'm happy for Cleveland. They put themselves in a position to have a good quarterback with either Tyrod or a rookie. KT the Southern Gent says, Sean Mack says, Brown stole Landry. I don't know what the compensation is right now, so if anybody knows, I don't have my phone. I forgot to bring it over here because I should have my phone, because with the way these trades are coming down, I could miss a trade while I'm sitting here talking to you. But I don't know what the compensation is. It's 2 draft picks. I'm assuming one's got to be at least a second, and the other one is probably a early to mid-round pick. So when I say early, a 3rd or a 4th, no later than a 4th in my mind. Or it may be 2 2s, one this year, one next year. We'll see what happens as we move on. KT the Southern Gent says, do you think that Moncrief is a good target for New Orleans? I think Dante Moncrief can fit anywhere. I think he's a very underrated receiver. If he's healthy, I think he's got all the tools necessary to be a big-time playmaker in this league. Really love what Dante Moncrief brings to the table. He's 6'2", about 215 pounds, runs a sub-4 540, can jump, has really good hands. I think Dante Moncrief brings a lot of intangibles to the table, and if he's healthy, he's a bona fide number 2 in this league for sure. So, yes, he's a really good target for New Orleans. He's a really good target for Jacksonville. He's a really good target for the Redskins. He's a really good target for any team, Baltimore, Chicago, any team looking for an upgrade at the receiver position. Dante Moncrief will be a good option for them in free agency. SoFlo Sports says, Fins on an obvious decline. Look, I think the Dolphins right now are really looking to hit the reset button. And when I say hit the reset button, they're not looking to start all over again. Again, you've got a head coach that's trying to take full command of a football team. He doesn't want any malcontents. He don't want any guys that doesn't believe in the process. He doesn't want any guys that don't represent the Dolphins organization in the right way. He got rid of one guy that wasn't on the same page already in Jay Ajayi. We saw that last year with the trade for the Eagles, and Jarvis Landry. They felt like he was a head case. They felt like he was a guy that was very volatile and at any time could explode and maybe cost this team in a critical situation of a game if he couldn't keep his cool. He got thrown out in the final game of the season, and I thought that was the final straw that broke the camel's back in Miami. I knew from that point on, listening to your head coach talk, and like I said, he wears his emotions on his sleeve, okay? When I heard him speak at the podium after Week 17's loss to the Bills, I said to myself, Jarvis Landry is done in Miami. And so this doesn't shock me one bit. KT, the Southern Gent, says, does Cleveland keep Josh Gordon? I don't see why not. Low risk proposition for me. There's no reason that Josh Gordon isn't on this roster. As long as you maintain his rights, Josh Gordon is a Cleveland Brown in my estimation. J. Cam Man says, I feel bad for Tyrod. I mean, Cleveland, that's bad enough. He's just a Band-Aid. They will still try to get another quarterback more than likely. I think that they're not out of the quarterback business. Just because they got Tyrod doesn't mean they're not still looking to upgrade that position. I too believe that Tyrod is just a stopgap and a Band-Aid. I think they're still looking for a younger option to develop behind him. And so it wouldn't shock me if they draft a guy at 4. Or if they spend a second-round pick on a quarterback, their first pick in the second round, if they didn't give that up in one of these trades, isn't a quarterback. It wouldn't shock me at all. Sean Mack says, hashtag Hugh Jackass still stinks. Look, we differ there. I don't always agree with you, and I, like you, thought he made a ton of mistakes last year. That end of the first half debacle versus Detroit on the road, you got to get a field goal out of that situation. You can't run a quarterback sneak with no timeouts. What the hell are you thinking? I didn't agree with some of the usage of Isaiah Crowell. There are a lot of things that I didn't agree with Hugh Jackson on, but I still think he's a damn good coach. But in any event, we can agree to disagree. John Perez says, Dolphins to the pit of misery. Dilly dilly. Oh, man, you guys are idiots, I swear. KT, the Southern Gent, says, shout out to Juice Landry. Happy to see my Louisiana brethren get paid since he's off the market. Who's the biggest free agent wide receiver target? To me, it's got to be Robinson. A-Rob out of Jacksonville. He's the next big fish. Again, coming off of injury, there's a little bit of doubt there, but there's no doubt the talent is there. And like I said, ACLs, they're the thing of the past. He's going to be back. He's going to be a dynamic receiver again. The only thing you got to worry about is, will he hurt it again? Once you tear it once, you're more likely and more susceptible to tearing it again. That's the only thing you worry about. But, again, the talent is there with Allen Robinson, and so he's the next big fish on the free agent market at the receiver position. Also, of course, Samuel Watkins is a guy you throw into that mix as well. J. Cam Man says, if the Browns actually keep the first and fourth picks, I think they will pick Barkley first and a QB with the fourth. I wouldn't be shocked by that. Mexican says, do you think Torrey Smith will do damage with the Panthers? You know what? Let's move on, and because I'm going to talk about that trade as well. J. Cam Man says, I think that the Bills may trade 21 and 22 for the fourth. In a way, it would be one large trade. Browns get 21st, 22nd, Tyrod, and Bills get 4th and 65th. It'd be an interesting dynamic, and that's so Browns-like. I mean, the Browns seem like they stay with extra first-round picks every single year, and they stay flipping picks. So that would be so Browns-like, and I would not be mad if the Bills decided to package up those picks to go and get the quarterback of their choosing. I would love it. And as a matter of fact, if you're Buffalo, go get your guy. If you feel like that's your guy, if you are able to pick out a guy and say, that's our guy, go and get your guy. You know how I feel about that. Sean Mack says, Browns are currently in talks right now to trade one of their first-round picks per Mary Kay Cabot. And, you know, Mary Kay Cabot holds it down for the Browns. So if she says it, that's gospel coming from her. And obviously, if I'm the Browns, if I'm trading one of the first round picks, it's not 1 overall, it's the 4th overall pick. So, in any event, let's move on to some news that got swept under the rug today. Mike Evans getting a new deal, an extension in Cleveland, in Tampa Bay, 5 years, $82.5 million, $55 million of it guaranteed. Good for him. He's a big-time receiver, and that legendary class of 2014, I believe it was, with Odell Beckham Jr. and Mike Evans and Kelvin Benjamin. Those guys have produced in this league, and Mike Evans has been one of the better receivers of that entire group. And so he deserves to get broken off. And I think him and Jameis Winston are going to make beautiful music together with one another for many years to come. And so I love the move of keeping your own homegrown stuff and not allowing this to get to a situation where he becomes a free agent and you've got to start franchising him and he's starting to get leverage. And no, don't allow that to happen. He's your stuff. He's homegrown product. You know you want to keep him. He's a good dude. He works hard, and he's one of the better receivers in the league. Break him off. Keep him moving. That's what they did today, extending Mike Evans on a 5-year, $82.5 million deal, 55 of it guaranteed, as we move on to the next team making some moves in the Philadelphia Eagles. And for me, I feel like we need to put Howie Roseman in the Hall of Fame, man. Howie Roseman and what he's done in just 2 years with this Eagles franchise is just remarkable. I've never seen anything like this. The turnaround has been so epic for the Philadelphia Eagles. Just think about where they were just 3 years ago when Chip Kelly was really manning that franchise. Think about where they were. No Deshaun Jackson, no LaShawn McCoy. They were on the verge of ousting Jeremy Maclin. They were a bad football team. Sam Bradford was the starting quarterback. There was nothing there to excite Eagles fans. And then Howie Roseman takes over as they get rid of Chip Kelly. They hire Doug Peterson. Doesn't seem like the greatest hire at the time. They go all out for Carson Wentz, then find a way to recoup the first-round pick that it took to get Wentz by then trading Sam Bradford. And again, some really fortunate things had to happen. Unfortunate for the Vikings and Teddy Bridgewater, but fortunate for them to give them the opportunity to flip Sam Bradford, a guy that they wanted no part of anyway, for a first-rounder. And they've just, the trades that they've made and today, or the trades that they've made over the last couple of days. Look, Torrey Smith was going to be gone. They knew Torrey Smith was going to be gone. So why not flip him for a young corner that I like, that I think has potential to be really good in this league, and Daryl Worley, a guy that I loved coming out of West Virginia. All right, he's got some size, he's got ball skills, and Torrey Smith has some value for the Panthers who need help at receiver, and they missed Ted Ginn Jr. when they let him walk away. Now they get a guy that's got straight line speed like Ted Ginn Jr. did for them when they went to the Super Bowl in 2015. They've got a guy that kind of mirrors what Ted Ginn Jr. brought to the table in Torrey Smith. So I love the deal for both teams involved. It's another shrewd move by Howie Roseman in the long list of shrewd moves made by Howie Roseman in the last 2.5 years. But the biggest caveat for the Eagles, obviously, is getting Michael Bennett for the 5th-round pick and wide receiver Marcus Johnson. Who the hell is Marcus Johnson, and why the hell do we care? Again, feel like they stole from the Seattle Seahawks. Now, again, the Seahawks, they allowed this trade to happen because they did not want Michael Bennett any longer. They wanted to quote-unquote, quiet things down. I talked about this on my podcast. If you haven't checked it out, please check out the Louie T Network podcast. But they talked about it on the podcast. I talked about it on the podcast. They wanted to quiet things down in Seattle. Obviously, Michael Bennett being a very outspoken player, one of the really guys that are out in the forefront of the protests and really being vocal about Black Lives Mattering and things of that nature, and police brutality. Him himself being a victim of police brutality out in Vegas just a short few, 4 or 5 months ago. So to only give up a 5th rounder and Mark, and yes, Michael Bennett's no spring chicken. Yes, he's about 32, 33 years old. But what the Eagles are going to do is what they did with Chris Long last year is they're going to use this guy. They're going to scale back his snap count. They're not going to run him into the ground. They've got players in Philadelphia, okay? That's why they said we're going to part ways with Vinny Curry because they knew behind the scenes they were working on getting Bennett, and they're going to allow this guy to wreak havoc. They've got just a dynamic rush already with Timmy Jernigan and Fletcher Cox and Derek Barnett. Now you add in a guy like Michael Bennett. They're getting richer in Philadelphia. They're already a scary team on the offensive side of the football, and now this defense is getting even scarier. Let's talk about the Eagles and some of these moves they made. Let's get to the comment section, and I want to talk about the Philadelphia Eagles and what they were able to do here. I mean, just remarkable on what they were able to accomplish. So I'll pick out some Eagle comments, and we'll get back to some of the Browns comments and some of the things you guys have to say. I'll see if there's anybody that wants to comment on what the Eagles were able to do today or over the last couple of days with the trading of Marcus Johnson and a 5th rounder to Seattle for Michael Bennett and a 7th rounder being returned to them as well. Let's see what we got. Sean Mack says, Bennett is an overrated douchebag. You call him what you want. You may not like him, but he's a damn good football player, and he's still got something left in the tank. So I think that he's going to really provide some great value for the Philadelphia Eagles. And no, I'm not talking Walmart. I'm talking some real good value here, man. Let's see. So not a lot of comments on the Eagles. Let's get to the extension of Mike Evans. I saw a couple comments there. See what we got. Sean Mack says Mike Evans deserves the extension. I would agree with that. I think he's a damn good football player. Saw another comment in here as I'm trying to pick through. See what we got. All right, so I don't really see any comments regarding that. So a lot of people just want to talk about the Browns. So what I'll do is I'll continue to knock out the Rams. Let's go to the Rams and trade or less real quick, and then we'll just jump into the comment section. Trader Les is amazing. He's another guy that I'm in awe of some of the strings he's able to pull. And to be honest with you, looking at this Rams offseason, this feels all in for 2018 to me. This feels like all in or nothing. The reason I say that is Marcus Peters. You're freeing up cap space, so you may be able to afford him next year, but he's on the last year of his rookie deal. And he's going to command some huge dollars. Yeah, he's a little bit of a head case. Yeah, he's a hothead and very temperamental, but the guy's a hell of a football player and a turnover machine, okay? So he's going to get paid in free agency next year, and I think the Rams are going to want to hold on to him because he's a young talent, and they just allowed Trumaine Johnson to walk after 2 straight franchise tags, so they need someone to fill that void on their football team. Enter in Marcus Peters. But are you going to be able to re-sign him, or are you going to have to slap that franchise tag on him? I don't know. Aqib Talib, he's not getting any younger. Okay, and the 5th-round pick is not a huge investment for a guy that is a dynamic corner in this league. Yes, he's getting up there in age, and I think Wade Phillips vouched for him and said, look, man, yeah, again, much like Marcus Peters, very temperamental, very explosive and volatile, but a damn good football player. And I know I can control this guy. Let me get my hands on him. I know what to do with him. And so this is a dangerous secondary now. And they did the right thing by tagging LaMarcus Joyner, who I thought was one of the best, along with Eric Reed, one of the best free agent safeties available. I was really looking forward to seeing what he was going to command on the free agent market, because I don't know if a lot of people understand the versatility that LaMarcus Joyner brings to the table. Obviously, the Rams themselves realized the value that LaMarcus Joyner brings to their locker room and to the team and to the field, and so they weren't allowing him to walk. And I thought that was a smart move on their part. Trading away Robert Quinn and Alec Ogletree, what those trades said to me, one, Quinn doesn't fit what they do defensively under Wade Phillips. He's more of a base 4-3 defensive end. They're running that 3-4 base defense. Again, you're in nickel a lot with 4 down linemen anyway, a lot of the time in today's NFL, but still, I don't think Quinn really fit what they were doing. And to take it a step further, he was due a ton of money. They gave him a big deal not too long ago, and they were looking to get from underneath that deal. Same with Alec Ogletree. They gave him a new deal last year, and I think they realized they made a mistake. And the best way to overcome a mistake is to admit you made a mistake and move forward. I think they realized, yeah, we made a little bit of a mistake. Yeah, he was dealing with injuries last year, and he didn't have his best season, but I don't think they feel like he's worth the money that they were paying him. So they free up some space by moving him to the Giants. And essentially what they did was they gave away picks to get Peters. They gave a 4th in 2018. Well, guess what? They just recouped a 4th from the Giants. And guess what? It's a higher 4th than they had initially. That was their own 4th round pick. So they go out, they trade away some picks to get Peters. They trade away a pick to get Aqib Talib. But what they do is they go out and make these moves and reacquire picks. So they're still going to have a hefty full draft, and they're not going to feel the effects of trading away picks to get Peters or Aqib Talib, because they're going to recoup those picks by trading away Alec Ogletree. And what they're going to do, I think they're going to spend a 1st round pick on a linebacker, okay, or a pass rusher. They're going to replenish those positions that they just moved on from, right, with the picks that they have in the draft. So they probably feel like they're in a great spot through the Rams, and they say, look, Sean McVay and Jared Goff are in sync. They're as one. They're a unit now as coach and quarterback. Todd Gurley is one of the best all-purpose backs in the league, and he's young, he's hungry, and he's still got a lot of great football ahead of him. They love the weapons that they've surrounded Jared Goff with. That's why they want to retain Samuel Watkins, and they're in talks with him right now. And I'd be shocked if they don't keep Samuel Watkins. I think he's going to end up in Los Angeles when it's all said and done. Robert Woods was outstanding last season. I loved Cooper Kupp in the draft, and you saw why last season. I think Gerald Everett is due for a breakout season. He's coming along. They still have Tyler Higbee. They have so many weapons in Los Angeles that it's not even funny. They cut ties with Tavon Austin. And again, they have so many weapons. It's ridiculous. Not to mention Pharoh Cooper, who made the Pro Bowl as a return man. Did cost them the playoff game versus the Atlanta Falcons with the fumbles. But that guy's going to be just fine. A lot of weapons there. And now the defense is starting to catch up with the offense in Los Angeles. They look like a dangerous team. And if those guys perform the way that we know that they're capable of, look out for the Los Angeles Rams as a dark horse to make some serious noise in the NFC. Yeah, that secondary is a walking 15-yard penalty waiting to happen, but they're also a walking turnover waiting to happen as well. This is a dangerous defense with Aaron Donald. Never, ever trust a man. 2 first names on that defensive line, along with all the other talented guys like Michael Brockers and company. This is a dangerous football team in Los Angeles with the Rams. So Trader Les back at it again. He's one of the best in the game at moving players and making moves and wheeling and dealing like Kevin Nealon. Trader Les doing his best to put the Rams back in the Super Bowl. Love the offseason moves thus far made by the Rams, and I'm not sure that they're completely done. So let's get to your comments and talk about what you guys want to talk about. So let's pick up where we left off. J Cam Man says, do you actually believe the Browns don't take a quarterback at all in the draft? While I don't really like the rookie QBs, that doesn't mean they shouldn't take one. Gotta gamble. I feel like they're going to take one. It may not be in the first, but I think they ultimately take a quarterback. And this is a deep quarterback draft class, believe it or not. Yeah, they could still get them a quality developmental quarterback. If Todd Taylor is your type of quarterback, then you probably like the University of Richmond quarterback, Kyle Laletta, because he's similar. He's got a similar skill set to Todd Taylor. So, again, you can get yourself some value in this draft in the third, in the fourth round, depending on how the rest of those quarterbacks fall in this draft. Sarah Small says, who are the Colts getting in free agency? I don't know. I don't want to lie to you. I don't know who the Colts are going to target. Again, they've got a new coach that came over from Philadelphia, and Frank Wright. And I think what he's going to do is he's going to look to build that offense up. And I think the first thing you got to do in Indy is build the offensive lineup. And whether you decide to do that via the draft or you want to do that via free agency, that remains to be seen. But your new GM, Chris Ballard, is going to really look to build that defense, that offense up, and it got to start up front to protect whomever's at quarterback. And then I think you've got to do the same thing on the defensive line. You've got to get pressure on the quarterback. You've got to be able to stop the run more consistently. So I think they're going to look to bolster the trenches on both sides of the football, and then you go from there if you're the Indianapolis Colts. So that's what I think the Colts will look to do in free agency. Amon Garg says, don't know too much about Tyrod. What are your thoughts on him? I love it. I love Tyrod Taylor. I think he is a guy that takes care of the football. He's not going to make a ton of mistakes. Very mobile, uses his legs to get out of the pocket and escape trouble. Does he always make the best decisions with the football in terms of where to go with the football? Does he leave some yards out on the football field? Maybe. There's times where he could do some things with the football. Yeah, is he going to check it down on 3rd and 9 to the running back out of the backfield if he doesn't like what he sees? Yeah, he's going to do that. And you're going to have to punt the football. But it's better than having Deshaun Kaiser force it into double coverage and get picked and have the defense have to defend a short field at your 37-yard line because he decided he wanted to try to squeeze the football into double coverage and throws a pick. So Tyrod Taylor going to take care of the football. He's a very good facilitator of the football. He'll spread it around to everybody. He's an equal opportunity offender. He will throw the football to any and every eligible that you have. He does like using his back, so Duke Johnson will get a fair share of touches, and Saquon Barkley will as well. He'll definitely get the running backs involved, but the thing you got to love with Tyrod is he throws a beautiful deep ball. That's number one. If you've got guys that can win down the field, Tyrod Taylor throws one of the best deep balls in all of football, and he does not miss very often, and he will extend plays with his legs, which will keep drives alive. 3rd and 4, he'll escape and get you 7. 3rd and 9, he'll escape, get you 11, and keep drives alive and give you opportunities to score points. So there's a lot to like with Tyrod Taylor, and I think he's going to do just fine under the tutelage of Hugh Jackson. Sean Mack says, Browns and Packers also swap spots in the 4th and 5th rounds in 2018 as well in that Randall for Kaiser trade. Okay, awesome. Appreciate that as well. John Perez says, I'm surprised the Browns gave up on Kaiser so early. I'm not. At least he's going to get to learn from number 12 in Green Bay. Hugh Jackson didn't believe in Deshaun Kaiser. When he made the statement last year that he doesn't think Deshaun's ever going to get it, that pretty much told me all I needed to know about the amount of confidence that he had in Deshaun Kaiser. And so I told you I didn't think Kaiser was ready to play last year at all. And the fact that he started essentially from week 1, I knew it was going to be a problem. And so there's no way that the Browns had confidence in Deshaun Kaiser moving forward. So why not move him and get something for him in return? Mazer_12 says, the new year hasn't even fully begun and it's already wild. Who you telling, man? I totally agree. It's ridiculous. Juan Jose says, so do the Browns take Barkley at 1 and best player available at 4 now that they have a QB? That's the plan. And as you heard my man Sean Mack say that Mary Kay Cabot is reporting along with the NFL Network that the Browns are interested in moving one of those first-round picks. To me, it's got to be preferably number 4. You can't trade one away and still expect to get Barkley. So I'm assuming it's the 4th overall pick. And I guess the move would be for them to trade to get Barkley at 1 and then see what you could get for the 4th overall pick. And if you don't move the 4th overall pick, then to me, the consensus would then be to move on or to draft the best player available. You know, again, it's a luxury pick at that point, so you just get the best player available. So I think that's the plan, Juan. I really do. 32 J Lock says, ideally, what should the Browns do at 4? Take the best player available. If that's a quarterback, take a quarterback. If that's a safety, take the safety. If that's a pass rusher, Marcus Davenport, Bradley Chubb, take the pass rusher. Whomever you deem to be the best player on the board at that time, I've always said, and it's irregardless of position, unless you've got a franchise quarterback and aren't interested, or you've got a young franchise left tackle and aren't interested, and really you've got a book tackles at both ends, and you don't need a tackle. Those are the only positions that I wouldn't take best player available if I'm already set at those positions. But the Browns aren't set at tackle. Joe Thomas is mulling retirement, so that's not off the table for them. And obviously, quarterback isn't off the table for them. So if I'm the Browns, any and every position is on the table. Best player available at 4 if you are the Browns, if you keep that pick. RG3 hashtag says, should we move Randall to safety? Because I see him, and he said, I see him as one not really good at covering outside. And that's why I said we're going to see what your defensive coordinator, Greg Williams, decides to do with him. Because remember, he was a safety at ASU coming into the draft, and the Packers decided to draft him and move him to corner because he had the speed and the length to do so. But I'm pretty sure he's not adverse to going back to safety. And in this day and age, with the kind of speed that he has, that might not be the worst thing in the world, because I think Jabril Peppers is better around the line of scrimmage. I thought they had him doing some things that I don't think he's that comfortable at doing, being a single high free safety and even being a cover 2 safety. I'm not really comfortable with Jabril Peppers being a defender in the back half. I like him around the line of scrimmage as a blitzer, as a playmaker, as an underneath defender. That's where I think Jabril Peppers can really help you as more of a nickel linebacker, more so than an actual free safety. And so I think maybe a guy like Demarius Randall gives you the flexibility to maybe move him down in the box a little bit more. We'll see. The Soundwave 92 says, do you think DeShone Kizer could be in a much better situation now? He was terrible under Hugh Jackson. I think he was put into a very bad situation. I agree with pretty much all of what you just said. I didn't think he needed to play, but what did the Browns really have last year to stop him from playing? And so because of that, I think the thought process there was, you know, we don't think he fits in our long-term future. And so you move him to Green Bay, where he's going to have a chance to sit and learn. And I think it's a great situation for him. And he gets to learn from one of the best. He gets the tutelage that he needs, because he had no business playing last year. None whatsoever. So now he's going to do what he should have did last year, and that's sit his ass on the bench and learn. And I think it's going to benefit him. He may not be happy about this move, because he knows if Aaron Rodgers is healthy, he's not going to play. But at least he'll get to learn. And I think that's invaluable. I think he'll be much better off in Green Bay than he was in Cleveland. J. Camman says, Browns get used to winning. Louie, way too soon to be singing the praises of the Cleveland Browns, even though they do have a good QB now. Look, I can tell you this much. They're not going to be a bad football team. I'm telling you, if Tyrod is able to stay healthy, Saquon Barkley, we've seen what good running backs can do for a football team. And when I say good, I take that back. We've seen what elite running backs can do to a football team. With a good offensive line, which the Browns have in front of them, you telling me Saquon Barkley can't change the game for them? Now you add a quarterback in there. Now you add a receiver like Jarvis Landry. You really think with all the talent they have, they're not going to win at least 8 games? They've got a last place schedule, all right? You telling me they can't beat the Bengals at least once, if not sweep them? they can't beat the Ravens at least once and do some damage. I don't know who the AFC North is playing next year, but you can't tell me that this Browns team isn't prepared to win 8 games. I'm just not buying it. If they're healthy, they're going to be a dangerous team. Disco Jump Rope says, who do you think will sign DeMarco Murray? I don't know. I don't know who's looking for an aging back that still has tread on the tires, but nonetheless, in running back years, he's extremely old. And in a very deep running back draft class that's coming up, I've said this a million times, and I'm going to continue to say it. The running back position is no country for old men. Why go out and get an aging veteran when you can get a young guy that's a cheaper, younger option? Murray's going to sign somewhere, and there's going to be a team looking for a veteran back, and he'll fit that bill. But I don't know what team that is at this moment. Captain Spartan says, the most important news today is that Mike Mitchell is going to get cut. If you're a Steelers fan, maybe that is. Juan Jose says, do you think it's going to be Chubb or Barkley at 1? Barkley, all day, every day. House says, the Browns are still going to take a QB. They'll draft Barkley at 1 or either Baker or Allen at 4 and sit him for a year. I don't disagree with that, but again, they're shopping that 4th overall pick right now. But I don't disagree with that notion that they still take a quarterback. I think it would actually be really smart on their part to do so. The Soundwave says, would you say A.J. McCarron goes to one of the more desperate teams? I feel like the Browns were his best bet. Yeah, I think that A.J. McCarron had a fan in Hugh Jackson. So, yeah, that was his best bet, and that was going to be the most likely destination. That's why I was banging the table for that. I don't see that happening now because, obviously, A.J. McCarron doesn't want to be a backup. Wherever he goes, he wants to start. And there's some teams that are going to be desperate for a quarterback. The question is, do they believe in A.J. McCarron as a starter? Just because you get an A.J. McCarron or a Teddy Bridgewater or a Case Keenum in free agency doesn't mean you're not going to still draft a quarterback. And so if you're a free agent quarterback, you can't be assured. A team can tell you whatever they want to tell you to get you to sign on the dotted line, similar to what the Bears did with Mike Glennon. I'm pretty sure they told him he was the guy, gave him a contract that reflected that, and then the first chance they got to draft Mitchell Trubisky, they went and got Mitchell Trubisky. So, look, A.J. McCarron is going to land somewhere. And wherever he lands, he's going to get an opportunity, but it may not be, an opportunity to potentially be the long-term starter wherever he lands, whether that's in New York with the Jets or in Arizona with the Cardinals or in Minnesota or wherever he goes, in Denver. Who knows where he's going to end up? But wherever he ends up, there's no guarantee that team still isn't going to spend an early round selection on a quarterback. Armin Garg says the Jarvis trade was for the Browns' 4th in 2018 and 7th round pick in 2019. Really? Is that it? No way. No way. I don't believe that. Really? Huh. Mazer _12 says Barkley is the next LT in my opinion. The closest comp I can see to him. He's got that lateral agility that LT had, but and LT was actually faster than he was at the combine. So he's bigger than LT, though, way bigger than LT in terms of his girth and his size. But yeah, I can see what that LT comp. I think that lateral quickness and agility and the home run speed and the ability to catch it, which LT had dynamic hands out of the backfield. I can see that comparison. No doubt. Jason says, I've been on vacation. That's why I haven't been around. Well, good to have you back, man. I hope you enjoyed that vacay. Welcome back. Sean Mack says, flush that cook crack, dog. Barkley the best is AP. You clowning, bro. Hey, look, man. I'm trying to tell you. You will pay heed to me after you guys draft him and you get to watch him up close and personal. And I know you watched him in the Big Ten up close and personal, but you're going to pay heed to me after you realize, man, this guy's the absolute truth. Louie T was right. I'm not going to keep talking to you about it, though. I'm going to let you find out for yourself. Caesar Augustus says, do you think Kirk Cousins would take less money to sign with the Minnesota Vikings to have a better chance of winning now? Yeah, he's going to do that. That's what's going to happen. There's been a report circulating that it's a 3-year, $90 million deal. It's not going to be that much. He's going to sign with Minnesota. I think he's going to sign a 3-year deal, though, because Kirk wants 2 bites at the apple. He wants to, get this money and then be able to re-up and still be in the prime of his career at right around the age of 32, 33 and get a new deal again. And there'll be a new CBA that year because in 2021 is when the CBA is up. The NFL players will probably go on strike and they'll have a brand new CBA and more money to spend. And that's when he'll be looking to get another new deal. So I think it'll be a 3-year deal for Kirk Cousins. And I think it'll be in the $27 million range. So 3 years, let's see, 27 times 3, 1, carry the 2 times, that's, I'm calculating the numbers in my head. So that's 3 times, what did I say, 27? So that's 6, carried it, $81 million. So I think of that 81, like 65 of it maybe will be guaranteed. Like a huge chunk of it will be guaranteed. Yeah, I think he's going to sign with the Minnesota Vikings. I really do. Wow, it was a 4th and some 7ths. Wow, you were right, Sean Mack. That was stealing, man. Yikes. That is insane. Shame on the Dolphins. What are they thinking? He was worth way more than that. Anyway, Slip Ammo says, what does Chris Baker bring to the table? A lot of running his damn mouth is what Chris Baker brings to the table. When he's at his best, he provides some girth up the middle and a guy that can get to the quarterback. But at his worst, he's a malcontent that runs his mouth and does more talking than actual production on the field. So good luck with him. I like Chris Baker. He's a good dude. He means well, but he doesn't like to practice. That's number one. That's the first thing that's going to piss coaches off. He doesn't like practicing at all. So if he can get out of practicing, he will. He doesn't practice hard. He's a guy, though, that on game days will provide you with a little bit of value. But, again, he's got to be in the right frame of mind in order to give you anything. When he's on, though, he's a good football player. When he's not, he's damn near invisible. And the mouth never shuts, whether he's playing well or not, which is why Tampa said, oh, we don't need the headache. You don't practice well enough, you're not producing well enough, and you're still talking. Get out of here. Captain Spartan says, Calvin Ridley going to Miami, clearly. We'll see. Billy Madden says, is Kirk good enough to win a playoff game? Yes, he is. And it's Kirk with an I, not a U. And it's K-I-R-K, not Kurt. Don't let Bruce Allen trick you and fool you into thinking the man's name is Kurt Cousins. It's actually Kirk, like Captain Kirk. K-I-R-K, Kirk Cousins. Jason says, do you think Richard Sherman will go to Green Bay? I hope so. Well, first, I think he's going to try to go back to Seattle. He said he's going to talk to them because Seattle still wanted him. They just needed that money, and he wasn't willing to really restructure. So I think they're going to try to go back to the table and see if they can't come up with a number that makes sense for both sides because he still wants to be in Seattle. That's his home. That's where he wants to be. But if it doesn't work, then he's going to become a free agent. Now, you got to remember he's coming off of an Achilles, and if I'm not mistaken, he's had surgery on both Achilles this offseason. But nonetheless, he's coming off of Achilles, and he's getting up there in age, and so that's a little scary. But if he's the same guy pre-injury, he could really help a team for another 2 or 3 years at a very high level. And Green Bay, definitely in the mix, along with a number of other teams that are looking for cornerback help. So we'll see what happens. Ricky L says, that's that hashtag dolphin shit. There's no other way to describe that. If what you guys are telling me is accurate, a fourth and a couple of sevens, if that's all they thought Jarvis Landry was worth, that is exactly the definition of that Dolphin shit. Ricky L said, and Rick, appreciate that Dubsky you dropped on me on the super chat a couple of streams ago, man. I really appreciate that, bro. He says Landry was their heart and soul. I don't see them winning 5 games now. Probably about what they will, the Browns will win. I don't know if he was their heart and soul. I agree. He was their emotional leader, but I don't know if that sinks them to the depths of the Cleveland Browns and where they've been. I don't know if they're going to be that bad, but we'll see. Will Ford says Mike Evans' extension guarantees 10 more games of getting locked down by Marshawn Lattimore. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Marshawn Lattimore is an absolute beast. Brandon Williams says a lot of Raven fans are pissed off after seeing these moves that Cleveland made. You should be, because they've got exponentially better today than they were yesterday. And they're a legit competitive team in that division now. You don't get 2 freebies off the Browns anymore in the division. That's dead. That's done. Those days are over. J. Cam Man says, I think there's still a chance that Cleveland could draft a quarterback and get a free agent and perhaps deal Tyrod. Unlikely. If they could get something better, why wouldn't they? It's very unlikely. That you can't deal Tyrod Taylor after trading for him. I don't think. I know Redskins' situation with Alex Smith is a little different, but I know there were some Redskins fans saying, hey, we could trade, because they still wanted Kirk. We could trade Alex Smith and keep Kirk. If you trade a player that you just traded for, I believe there's a clause that kicks in that fully guarantees their contract. And so it's a massive hit to the team that acquired them and then is looking to trade. So I don't think that's something that would interest the Browns, but I don't see that happening anyway. Juan Jose says, any info on Marcus Johnson? I don't have anything for you, bro. I don't. We saw little of Marcus Johnson in Philadelphia, and so I can't tell you who that guy really is. Sean Mack said, okay, we already read that. KT the Southern Gent says, would love to see Hundley in L.A. Hey, knock yourself out, man. I am not a Brett Hundley fan. Never was, and I don't think I ever will be. But I'm always rooting for brothers at the quarterback position, so I'm pulling for him, but I just don't like what I see out of him. He be working that gum over, though. KT the Southern Gent says, who's the biggest value in the free agent market? Hard to really say. There are a number of guys. If you're asking me, there's some guys, and I don't have my tab in front of me with all the free agents, but I'm going to try to run through it in my mind. Isaiah Crowell, or Isaiah Crowell, to me, is one of the biggest undervalued free agents at the running back position. He's definitely among my list, and I actually had a list that kind of spoke to biggest values in free agency. I wish I had my tablet. It's right within reach, but I can't grab it. So we'll have that discussion another day, I guess. See, I just skipped a bunch of comments. Let's see where we are from a time perspective. We're closing in on an hour, so we'll go for another 10 minutes or so, and we'll get out of here. Let's see. Let's kind of skip through some of these comments and get to some. Hey, man, that is awesome. And she puked on you, man. Hashtag Uncle Life. I love it, man. Hey, get ready for a lot more of that coming, man. Changing diapers, all of that good stuff, man. It's a great feeling, though. Indeed. Soundwave says the Eagles are clearly in the market for a repeat. Hey, they're not messing around, man. Howie Roseman is not playing any games. MCGB says if Cleveland had a halfway decent coach, they'd be an 8-8 football team. He's going to show y'all something this year. I'm going to find out. Y'all going to find out. That is insane, man. Insane. A fourth and some sevenths. It's crazy. Jason says the Eagles are such a great team with Wentz coming back next year and all these trades they are making. Damn, the Eagles may be another nasty team. I agree. KT the Southern Gent says, my brother wants to know if his Giants take Bradley Chubb or Josh Rosen at number 2. The Giants in the old days would take Chubb because they love taking defensive ends, but at number 2, you got to take a quarterback. You can't afford to not take a quarterback here because you've got to think to yourself, with a new coach, with Eli Manning back, with that defense that's still dangerous, you got to think that the Giants aren't going to be in the same predicament that they find themselves in right now as a 2 or 3 win team. They're going to be much better, and they're not going to be in the same position to draft a high-level quarterback. So if you're the Giants, it's very appealing to consider Quentin Nelson. It's very appealing to think of Bradley Chubb as a potential guy at 2, but it's got to be a quarterback. And if Rosen's the guy, then you pull the trigger on Rosen. If it's Darnold, then you pull the trigger on Darnold. If it's Allen, then you pull the trigger on Allen. If it's Mayfield, you get where I'm going with this. Either way, the future quarterback of the New York Giants for years to come needs to be selected at 2 overall if you're the New York Giants. You just won't get this opportunity again. You can't pass it up. You're not the Browns. You're not the Jags when they were bad, where you know, I'm going to be in the top 5 again next year. So if I don't get a quarterback this year, I'll get one next year. No. You need to get the quarterback now because you're probably not going to be in that same position to get one a year from now. Soundwave says the Rams are trying to get to the Super Bowl. They are going to re-sign Darnold very soon. I don't know what that is there. This team is all in 2018, in my opinion. Talib and Peters are a terrifying duo. I agree with that final statement. Darth Vader BI says, are the Rams now the best team in the NFC West? They were last year, right? And we all perceive these moves to make them better. So wouldn't you think they would still be the odds-on favorite to win the NFC West? These moves haven't downgraded them. It's made them even more dangerous, and they won the division last year. So I say yes. KT the Southern Gent says, who's Philadelphia's biggest NFC challenge? Excuse me. After Minnesota gets Kirk Cousins, you got to think it's the Vikings. They both of those teams squared off in the NFC Championship game, and I'd like to think that if Minnesota's able to stay relatively healthy, they get Dalvin Cook back, who's a dynamic back that really is a game changer. They're going to lose the secret weapon, but they're going to be just fine, and I think they're going to draft a running back like Kalen Ballage to take his spot. I think the Vikings have to be the chief challenger to the Philadelphia Eagles, along with the Rams in the NFC conference. See what we got. Jason says the Rams are another nasty team for next year and that now has their feet wet in the playoffs plus making moves to improve. I agree. Last year was a necessary evil. They had to take their lumps. They hadn't been there. They were young. They didn't know what playoff football was all about. Now they know. They're a scary team. They're definitely scary. And now Wade Phillips is starting to get some of his guys in there. They're going to start creating havoc in Los Angeles for sure. If they're able to stay relatively healthy, and they were one of those teams that stayed relatively healthy last year. They weren't bitten by the injury bug for the most part. If they're able to steer clear of injuries again, they're going to be a very dangerous football team, are the Rams, for sure. Soundwave says, Talib will be a top 15 corner for next season. He's already very old and is nowhere close to what he was in the 2015 season. So that was a question. He said, Will Aqib Talib be a top 15 corner next year? I don't know if he'll be a top 15, but he'll still be good enough with that defense. But there's going to be a decline over the next few years with him because he is getting up there in age. But he's such a savvy corner. He's very long. He does a great job of keeping his eyes on the quarterback and having their eyes take him to the football. He's still a playmaker, and I think he's going to age well. He may not be able to run like he used to, but he's going to age well to me and still be able to make big plays. Juan Jose says, Richard Sherman a better value than Talib? I would probably take Talib just because he's not coming off of a major injury. Richard Sherman is younger, so from that perspective, Sherman would be the better value, but he's coming off of a major injury, and it's not an ACL. I wouldn't mind if it was it's an Achilles. Those scare me. So Talib, to me, because of the health concerns with Dick Sherman, I'd say Talib is the better value right now. Sean Mack says Giants getting Ogletree is a good move for them. Well, look, their linebacker position was just god awful and has been over the last 5 years. The last good linebacker they had out there was John Beeson for about a good 1 or 2 year span. They need some help at linebacker, and Ogletree's going to provide that for them. They need a bounce back year from him, though. He wasn't his best last year, and he dealt with some injuries, but he's definitely an upgrade from anything that they had a season ago. Juan Jose says, all of those guys to pay, who's the odd man out for the Rams? I think they're gonna if Marcus Peters plays the way that we know he's capable of playing, I think they're gonna pay him next year. So I think the odd man out would probably be if Aqib Talib starts to show a tremendous rapid decline, he could be the odd man out. But right now, I think that they're going to try to hold on to everybody if they can. But, you know how it goes. Can't keep everybody. The Soundwave says Kyle Lauletta equals Tyrod Taylor 2.0. He doesn't have a cannon arm really, but I see him having a lower ceiling compared to the rest of the big names in the quarterback class. No, his arm isn't the strongest, but I think he's got all the attributes of a quality starter in this league. At worst, a good backup for many years to come. Chris Deaver says, "You killing me thinking Barkley is better than Elliott. Barkley never matched Elliott's production in college, not even close." Barkley never played on a team with the talent. How many Penn State offensive linemen you seen come into the league? Every year, Ohio State's sending 2-3 more offensive linemen to the draft. He's never been on a team. Remember, while Barkley has been there, Penn State's still reeling from those sanctions that were handed down from the Jerry Sandusky scandal. They're still rebounding from that. They still haven't fully recovered. They're just getting back on their feet. So don't come at me with the whole comparison of college production. I'm just looking at the two players and comparing their skill sets. And Saquon Barkley, one, cleaner off the field. You know what you're getting. You're getting a good dude, good in the locker room, head on his shoulders, nothing to worry about there. Two, this guy is a bigger, faster, stronger, better hands version of Ezekiel Elliott. Now, he's still got to come in and do what Elliott did, which is take the league by storm and be a true difference maker. But who doesn't think Saquon Barkley is going to come in and do exactly that? Look, you can agree to disagree, but when you watch this man, you will see why everyone feels like he's a generational talent that has the ability to be the best back we've seen since Adrian Peterson. Again, I'm not going to keep repeating myself. I said what I said. I meant what I said, and you'll see what I said was true when you watch him in the NFL. Case closed. John Perez says, did the trades of Robert Quinn and Alec Ogletree surprise you? I thought Ogletree was surprising because he's still good. I thought that both of those trades surprised me because I didn't know the Rams were looking to move on from those guys. Quinn, I understand that he doesn't necessarily fit what they're doing defensively, scheme-wise. I think he's a base 4-3 defensive end, so I get that. But Ogletree, yeah, it was a little bit of a surprise. I thought he fit what the Rams do defensively as a fast, free-flowing defense. But I don't think they felt like the contract that they gave him last year, that he was living up to that contract. And I don't think they felt like he was a guy that was going to play to that level moving forward. And so they felt like before they dug themselves an even deeper hole, let's get out of the Alec Ogletree business. But yeah, they were surprises to me, both of them. Sean Mack says, if the Browns end up keeping the 4th pick, for me, it's DB Fitzpatrick or OT Williams. So he wants either the tackle out of Texas or the safety out of Alabama. Both good selections. I don't know if Williams is necessarily worthy of the 4th overall pick, but I know you're very high on him, and so we'll see what happens. J. Cam Man says, where do you think Samuel Watkins ends up? I told you earlier that I still think he's going to end up in Los Angeles with the Rams, but we'll see. If he doesn't end up there, there are a number of teams starving for a receiver with the talents of Samuel Watkins. So we'll see what happens. There are a number of destinations for him. Obviously, there are a bunch of needy teams. Chicago, Baltimore, Washington, just to name a few. And there are many more that I'm not naming that are just as interested in him and probably have the cap space to go out and make a move. Oakland comes to mind as a team that might potentially be in that market because I don't know how they really feel about Michael Crabtree. And I'm going to tell you what, Amari Cooper had a very disappointing year last year. So there are a number of teams. San Francisco 49ers, he ate them up on a Thursday night. They saw it firsthand. So they may be like, hey, why don't you come join us? We got a quarterback over here, and we know what you're capable of. So, again, a lot of teams with a lot of money, no telling where he would end up. John Perez says, what's the future of Darrelle Revis in the NFL? Personally, I think he should join the Browns because of his veteran leadership on the field and in the locker room. I don't see him joining the Browns. He's in Kansas City right now. I don't know if he's going to remain there, but I don't think Revis has much value left for any NFL team, personally. But that's just me. Greg Brewer says, a third rounder for Tyrod Taylor is, he's trying to be funny, Tyrod Taylor is too much. I think that's great. I think that's great value, man. I'm not mad at it at all. Sean Mack says, I'm not denying Barkley is uber talented, but people are just quote unquote caught up in the moment right now. Hey, look, man. You know, people know when they see talent at a very high level. People know. You know, it's the same feeling we got when we saw Andrew Luck. It's the same feeling that people saw when they saw Clowney. You know when you see when you see talent. You know when you see it. You know, it's how we felt, when we saw Ezekiel Elliott. We knew he was going to be good. Like, when you see elite talent. And he's the elite of the elite in terms of talent. Now it's all about that talent manifesting itself on the field. And with that, we'll get out of here, man. It's been a great stream. I'm back like cook crack. Got a brand new modem. As you can see, no problems today. We back streaming the way we supposed to here on the Louie T Network. You guys make sure you check out the podcast, Louie T Network podcast, on Apple Podcasts and on Stitcher and on the site louietnetwork.net. Check out the site. I'm going to make some changes to the site. I'm going to create a forum where we can have these types of discussions on the site, and so look out for that. I'm going to make some changes to the site. And in the future, when things like this happen, trades, look to the site for a quick synopsis of big moves that happen in the NFL that are isolated incidents. I'll be putting up videos that you can't find on YouTube that you have to go through the site to view. So be on the lookout for that. Continue to check out the site, louietnetwork.net. And remember, if you're making any purchases on Amazon, click on one of the links to Amazon down below or any of the links on Amazon on the site and go through my Amazon link to make your purchase to help your man Louie T out. I want to thank you guys for joining me on this program. NFL trades are running rampant and we're not done yet. The league year hasn't even started. There's more to come. But in any event, your man Louie T has you covered like a blanket. Anything that happens, we'll talk about it here on the Louie T Network. And remember, hey, we changing the game over here. Period. I will see you guys next time. Have a good one. Thanks for joining me on the Louie T Network.